All right, just for fun, let's say you just fell off the turnip truck and you wanted to understand what goes on in this country and around the world for that fact. The first term that you'd have to make yourself familiar with is globalism. What's a globalist? Someone who believes in world government and wants to institute the same policies across the board throughout the world. And globalism is a naturally authoritarian system where some outside entity assumes or thinks they have the right to tell you how to live, how to act, what you can do, what you can say on a daily basis in your life. And globalism, being a naturally authoritarian system, is a real easy target for corruption because very seldom are there any honest checks and balances along the way to make sure that the people who are in charge are doing what they're supposed to do without siphoning off money and power for themselves along the way, which, as we all know, is one of the biggest human frailties there is. Hence the term money is the root of all evil. So, what kind of system do the globalists want to set up? There's already an example of it on this planet, and it's called the European Union. And anyone who's familiar with how that system works and what goes on out in the open and behind the scenes should not be impressed at all. As a matter of fact, they should do everything to avoid that type of system being bought into their daily life. Had the people of Europe had a crystal ball before the European Union was formed, they would have never entered into it. And here's the problem with authoritarian systems and world government. Once you're in, it's like a roach motel, and more than likely, you're going to have a hell of a time getting out of it. Just look at the situation in Britain. They voted to leave the European Union years ago now, and they still haven't managed to get the job done. It's because there's so many tentacles of corruption involved in this big world system that they want to institute worldwide that it's practically impossible to break free once it wraps its tentacles around you. So, how do the globalists operate? What are their priorities, or how do they institute the things that they want to accomplish and or keep people under control? Generally, it's based on two things: greed and lust. And either one of them can make it so that they can control you as a politician or a person of power for the rest of your life. Because if you do the wrong things and they get wind of it, they'll leave you in power. They'll let you keep your job, but you will work for them forever because you have a secret that you want to protect, or you took the payoff and basically sold your soul and sold out to world government. Throughout world history, it has generally always went the same. First, they disarm the people, then they take away their speech and start restricting their lives down to one bland, across the board system that doesn't really allow for advancement and crushes the regular people so that the people on the top can stay in power. That's generally how it always works. And there are examples of that throughout human history. Stalin, Mao, Hitler, all believers in a form of world government, no matter what label they wanted to put on it, because they wanted to take their system worldwide. And they were willing to take people's choices and free will away along the way. And if that's not a tyrannical system, I don't know what is. Now, in order to understand all of this, we have to delve into the globalist belief system for a minute. What do the globalists believe? What is, for lack of a better term, their religion? Well, seeing as how, for the most part, they're corrupted, broken people, that should be fairly obvious. But they have rules that they have to operate by. And it's no different than the rules that we have to operate by on our side of it. And it's all centered around free will. And if you can trick someone into giving up their free will, that's within the rules. If you can convince someone through deception that they're not smart enough to handle their free will and they should give it to somebody else, that's fine. That's totally within the rules. But they can't take it by force, at least wise, not within the strict rules of how everything is done. They have to tell us in some way, shape, or form what it is they intend to do before they actually do it. And if we don't protest or push back against it, to them, they think that's okay, that we want it to happen. And even if it's against popular opinion, that's when they start their push forward. And that brings us to the current situation, skipping over a lot of years in the good old USA itself. We have spent too many years turning a blind eye to what these people have been trying to accomplish. We have been far too forgiving of the people who try and corrupt our system. We have been responsible, for the most part, for financing our own destruction because we weren't vigilant, we didn't speak out, or we had better things to do. And just as an aside, do you know what the people who are behind globalism call all of what I've been talking about? They call it their life's work. And they have been at it for generations and generations. And it says right in their own literature and philosophy, should it ever be discovered, that there won't be a safe place for them to walk on this earth because they have done such horrendous things behind the scenes that the regular people of the world, the sheep as they like to call them, would never understand. Nor should they, for that fact, because there is no culpable excuse for treating another human being as less than human, for taking something from someone who is an innocent bystander, for thinking that they have the right to do what they have been doing and trying to accomplish for all these years is okay. And so ends part one of Introduction to Globalism. Next, we'll get into how they subvert the system, in particular here in the US, because it's a main part of peeling it all back. Because we can't free the rest of the world until we free our little corner of it first.